Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World. I'm John Jordan. In this video, it's a bit different to the other videos we normally do about blockchain games and the news around blockchain games. This is looking at a project called Arweave. So Arweave is a blockchain, but it's coming at the market, I suppose, from a more abstract, kind of really academic route. It's not really designed to be like a high performance blockchain like a lot of the ones these days are to run a lot of dApps or anything like that. This is about data storage. So it's thinking, the kind of idea behind the project is thinking about how we store data, how a lot of things on the internet now are no longer available, and thinking about what kind of things you would want to store on a blockchain forever. Now, kind of blockchains do this. Obviously, if you stick something in the blockchain, it's there forever. Now, that's kind of the point of a blockchain. But this is a project that's kind of specifically focused on that, and it has a lot of the kind of consensus mechanics and the way that the incentive models work for people to run storage and keep these things alive forever. Happen. So it's worth checking out. I'm not going to go into any detail of that, partly because I'm still learning about it, but it is interesting. There's been a few podcasts about Arweave recently. Listened to one from Epicenter. So check out Epicenter if you want to read that one. But what's interesting is, it is all the things we would want on from a blockchain, but thinking about how it can, in this case, connect people for a very long periods of time and think about the things that we want to save. So there's a bunch of stuff here. So there's a web archive, there's a kind of blogging platform, email, and then there are some apps or dApps, I guess, as we would normally call them. So I'll just kind of click on this. So if you go to that website, you can create a wallet. As it's kind of a sort of typical blockchain flow we would see at the moment. We're still kind of very early phases, so it's kind of there is activity there. It's not a massive project. It's not got millions of dollars of funding or anything like that. So it is kind of a bit kind of scrappy, but I think it's intellectually interesting. And when it comes particularly to games, so we have a whole bunch of dApps here doing the usual things we see with dApps, kind of finance, gambling, games, health, ID, media, security, social, a whole bunch of typical stuff. These are all fairly lightweight. These are kind of bedroom projects, I would guess, in most cases. And what's interesting is, particularly when we think about games and we think about archiving, what's the things we want to archive? Well, obviously, in an NFT situation on Ethereum, we want to know who owns things. I mean, that's pretty important because there's value associated with them. On a more lighter kind of blockchain, which is kind of, I guess, like what Arweave is, it's not really focused on the value of things. I don't think particularly, although that's kind of part of it. But we have this idea of things we might care about saving. Is kind of game state. So this is a very simple chess game, but you can see here people have saved different kind of loads. They've saved the game at certain stages, so and that can be shared. So this is obviously the wallet address here, and it's been shared, and you can continue to kind of play that if you want to play against a bot there. And that's kind of interesting because we do care in the game space about things like save games, and for certainly for some games, if there is some sort of value associated with them, you might be interested in having a kind of a global leaderboard, which is kind of immutable once something's in there. Doesn't mean people could still be using bots or hacking, the front end, because I guess these dApps are not running on Arweave itself, but using it as a kind of an archiving mechanic. So it still doesn't solve all your problems, but I think it is interesting. And there's another one that we can look at. Okay. So there's this breakout game here, and I just failed. So we can see here, I'm not very good at it. But once we hit game over, we can be storing this onto the Arweave kind of permaweb. I don't necessarily want to do that, but if we look here, we can kind of see a whole bunch of player addresses and the transaction and their high scores. So again, we're having this idea of if we were having a kind of a leaderboard that had some sort of value attached to it, like they could be winning Arweave tokens or something like that. That would be an interesting way of doing it. And as I say, kind of blockchains do have this sort of stuff all kind of already. So it's not doing anything new from that point of view. But I think you can imagine it being useful and for games in particular. And it may be that potentially I think a lot of these blockchains will kind of link together. So you could potentially be running a game on some sort of side chain or another blockchain, and then maybe using Arweave to decentralize in a decentralized way to save the game scores that you wanted, or even kind of game states, something like that. It could work. I'm sure it could work in parallel with these things. So very early stages. I just thought it was something interesting, worth checking out if you are interested in kind of blockchains at all. And there's obviously vast amounts of really fascinating research and kind of thought going on about how they can change the way we currently do things. I would definitely recommend having a look at Arweave. But thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in blockchain gaming. We take a pretty broad view and try and work out what's going on. So I hope that's interesting for people. But thanks for watching the video, and hope to see you again soon.